go. Welcome to Greenwood Cemetery. Big thank you to Bob Gilbert, who's not here, and John Semlak, who is here, for helping to arrange our visit here. My name is Michael Morgenthal. I'm the president of the Guides Association of New York, for those of you who may not know me. Just want to go over a few quick rules of the road, and then we're going to have a quick introduction and then have a little bit of a walking tour of the facility. So number one, if everybody could please silence their cell phones, that would be great. Number two, just a word about the badges. If you have a red badge, you're a guest. We love having you here, but our rules of operation basically mean you cannot address the meeting. And if we do have a vote on something, you cannot vote. Green and blue badges, you are full participants. Meeting green badges are full members. Blue badges, you are at the emeritus level. If you're an emeritus member, you can speak, but if we do have to vote on something, you do not have voting rights. And as always, at any point during the meeting, if you want to speak, please raise your hand, let me call on you, and please identify yourself first and last name, please. First things first, everybody should have gotten a copy of the agenda, either virtually or on paper. So want to call for an approval to the agenda and see if there's any new business to be added to the agenda. Oh, okay, great.
No business.
New business.
I'd like to add bench fund for new business, please.
Okay, we'll add the bench fund for new business at the end of the meeting. Great. Anybody else? Okay, awesome. Before I introduce our hosts, we are so thrilled to be here at Greenwood, and we all know it to be one of the gems of New York City. And thanks to John at the back there, who led a bunch of us on a great Revolutionary War themed fam tour of the cemetery in between the raindrops. We all got our cardio in before coming here to the meeting, which was great. And of course, with everything going on this year for America 250, and particularly the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Brooklyn, couldn't be in a more appropriate spot for our August meeting. So thanks again to John for setting up, for conducting that excellent tour. Quick note about the way the meeting is going to work. As you all probably know, we do not have a scheduled guest speaker this evening. We planned this to be one of our kind of open forum meetings, but we're going to try something a little bit different. And you can see it down towards the bottom of the agenda. We have a couple of pre-assigned topics, and when the time is right, we're going to have you break into some subgroups. It looks like we have about 40 people in the room, so we're going to do 4 groups of 10-ish. Doesn't have to be exact by number. There will be a board member at each group, just there to kind of move the conversation along, but they are not there to really run the group. Basically, we want you all to discuss the topics at hand, elect a spokesperson to report back to the rest of the meeting. We'll go through that in a little bit more detail when we get to that segment of the meeting. If you have any questions about that before we start, we can certainly go into a little bit more detail about that. So with all that said, we do have some more chairs over here in the front right corner, or front left corner, I guess, if you're coming from the back of the room. And we can always grab a few more chairs as need be. If anybody has bags or anything on a chair, I'd ask you to remove it, just because we might need every single chair as people start continuing to filter in. There are a few more chairs in here if we need, but let's get these existing chairs filled up first. So, okay. So, with all that being said, so I was told originally that Katie Gorham was going to be here, but I believe
she's on vacation.
She's on vacation. There we go. So we're going to have Lauren, and I'm sorry you told me your last name a minute ago and I forgot already.
I'm Lauryn Duncan.
Lauryn Duncan from Greenwood Cemetery, who's going to do a bit of an introduction and then walk us around this wonderful facility for a little while. So, Lauren, do you want me to do it here? Do you want me there? Do your thing.
Hi, I'm Lauryn Duncan. I'm the Archives and Collections Manager here at Greenwood. We are so happy that you decided to spend your evening here with us. I'm so sorry that it has rained out on you. We are going to do just a little building. Yes?
Speak into the mic. Speak into the mic.
We're going to do a little tour of the building, and it includes our 1895 atrium. Has anybody been here when it was still a flower shop? Yeah. So it took us 15 years, obviously, to get this building open. And so we're going to give you a little tour of the atrium, explain our gallery space, and we have 2 rooms off of that gallery that we can also go through. And if you have any questions about the cemetery at all, please feel free to ask on the way.
Great.
To the atrium.
To the atrium.
To make, and it was still being put in place the day before the grand opening.
Oh my gosh. So where are we?
Here.
Right now, you are here.
No, that's
Right there.
Right here. So that's our service yard.
That's okay.
And so that's where our facility, our trash facility, our monument makers, everything sits. This is our historic greenhouse here at 25th and 5th. So please come in.
Yeah.
How long have you wait till?
So I've been here since last January on official capacity, and I volunteered for 3 years. Did you hear on your phone?
But not everybody was present, so if you're able to do it in a very brief way, that's for everybody, that would be good.
Yeah.
Because only a portion of the people attended the brief time.
Sure. So welcome to the Greenwood Cemetery. We are technically the third oldest rural cemetery of our kind and the largest. We opened our doors technically in 1838. That is our incorporation on April 1838. Our first burials happened here in 1840. The rural cemetery is due to the rural cemetery movement. So the city was being too full, and so in order to fix that problem, similar to inspirations such as Pierre Lachaise and Mount Auburn, we then moved out into Brooklyn. So our founders, Pierpont, and our first surveyor, Douglas, have moved burial to the Greenwood Cemetery. And so this is how it starts. We start in 1838 with about half of what you see here, and eventually we move into Flatbush. So this building that you're standing in is the 1895 Weird Greenhouse. This was a landmark structure at the time. And in the early 2000s, we purchased this building with the goal of making it a welcome center here at Greenwood. We wanted somewhere for people to come, they could reflect, they could also spend a little bit of time, and they could learn about the cemetery and what we call our permanent residence. So this is really what this space was always meant to be. And so, as you can imagine, because it is a landmark structure and it has fallen into serious decay after years of uninhabitants, it took us 15 years, many permits, and lots of legal fees to get this building to where it is now. Every single thing that you see in this building has been retrofit except for the iron frames. That is about all that could be saved, is that some pieces of the frame had to be restructured, but every single pane of glass, there's over 200 panes, had to be fixed. And if you can tell, the sound in here isn't really that echoey, which is on purpose because we wanted it to be an event space. We wanted people to be able to have services, weddings, or events such as this in a space. And so every one of these little panels that you see are made to reflect terracotta panels. They're actually soundproofing. So we actually had our gala in here over a couple months ago. The space, though full of people, it was actually quite nice because you could sit at a table and didn't have to scream at each other too much. Although we were playing the next game.
There's some yelling.
There was a bit of yelling in that regard. And so if you look around the room, we have pieces from the collection. This book over here is about from Nehemiah Cleveland. This is our first historian of Greenwood. It is an actual book, but the front pages are facsimiles to protect it from the sun. But if you can see, we also have little sun panels. And we obviously have the drape. We only close it for events such as this. But the drapes on the ceiling are obviously meant to help with the heat. But also, if you can feel, it feels incredible in here. Not just because it's raining, but because the AC is actually coming from the floor. So we have an air floor in this space. So hopefully it keeps you nice and cool. So even in the heat of summer, like this morning or later this week, you can still sit in this room and it feels perfectly temperate all year round. So obviously you can see around the room we have some pieces. These are actual military markers that were removed from graves and replaced. And then along the wall over here is the timeline of the building itself. So obviously the flower shop. Somebody recently said they got ice cream in this building before, so that's exciting. And then all the way through our restoration, and it is still a legally landmark status. Any questions on the atrium?
I noticed that Greenwood is hyphenated. What's
Yes.
the official designation? Is it hyphenated
It's
or?
always been hyphenated. So our official incorporation papers are hyphenated. So we have always been green dashwood. So this building, technically the whole structure, including our offices, is the green/house at Green Dashwood. So greenhouse at Greenwood. Yes, the greenhouse at Greenwood is our official title of this building, and then eventually, I don't know if anybody has seen the news, but we are putting a greenway around the cemetery borders because we do not allow cycling or running within the cemetery grounds. So hopefully we will have a border path outside, and that will be the green/way at Greenwood. That is we got a new president last year, Mariyoshi, and she is really good at coming up with a good name. I have a question.
How many people can come to an event here?
Oh gosh, now you're testing my knowledge. We, I want to say 180 is the capacity of the entire building. But I am only the archives and collections manager. I
Okay.
could tell you about every single book in here. I don't think I could tell you about people. Yeah.
Joseph Dipper, you're supposed to introduce yourselves, right?
Yes.
That's not this part. Okay.
Yeah,
Hi,
yeah.
Joseph Dipper, got it. Do you, where's the funding come from? Is it government? Is it nonprofit? Is it from selling graves? Is it?
Okay. It's like it comes in a bunch of different pieces. I could tell you about my part of it, which came from an NEH grant fund, which obviously we got right before that stopped. But this building is made up of quite a few different grants and proposals and government. As
Gotcha.
far as I know.
Gotcha.
I could give you a full rundown, but I'd have to read about it really fast.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes?
I see you have land beyond the periphery. You've got a whole workstation.
At the yard.
And back there. Is the cemetery expanding beyond the periphery?
No. So we are. The thing about Greenwood is that the border that you see here has been our official border for quite a while. We obviously have the yard, which extends
Right.
into Sunset Park.
So-
So that is like our service yard. That's where we have our trash facilities. We are building a terramation studio there, which is natural organic production, human composting. And then inside of the cemetery, if it's a question about how are we expanding, we always have an option to close one of these smaller paths. So as you can see, some of these paths have become grave sites. But we also have other ideas that we're coming up with all the time. So Greenwood, though border-wise is not expanding, we always have the room to keep expanding.
Has the human composting started already?
It has not yet. We're still in the process. We are hoping to be the first cemetery to offer it in New York State.
What?
It's called terramation, so natural organic reduction or human composting. It takes 40 days and it is a natural cycle. There is no pulverizer needed at the end and whatnot. So it's very exciting. New.
And you do natural burials as well.
We do green burials
Good.
every day of the week.
That's me.
Okay.
Curious, usually it looks like you have these are actual tree types on the map. Looks that way.
So,
Yeah.
when we built this map is actually based off of quite a few different maps from cemetery's founding. So this logo here is actually located on one of our oldest maps down in the archives. And then every little bit, so what you see around the lakefront, how it has the little outlines of water, that also comes from one of our oldest maps. And so this map is really a mix of quite a few different maps. And when we got the first one, the trees were not here. And it looked really weird to us. So you're like, it's not, especially because we wanted to have landmarks that obviously mean a lot to us in the cemetery. We wanted to have a little bit of the trees. I wish so badly that I knew anything about the trees at Greenwood. Other than what researchers have asked me, I could tell you something about an oak tree, but that's literally it. So I couldn't tell you what types they are, but they are kind of
They're kind of accurate.
I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to lie to you because some of the head markers, these are like generalized. In some places, you're gonna have way more mausoleums than others. There's mausoleums like where I am, and then there's a few down at the end, and then I don't want to lie. But we try to make Rosewood as historically accurate as we could with flat markers. So, yes.
Okay, two questions. One, a question that a lot of people probably want to know, and that is, what would be the average cost for a burial site?
Depends on the section, right?
It depends on what you
Okay, all right, let's go low end to high.
Type of burial.
I wish I could tell you.
Okay.
I know absolutely nothing about that side of the cemetery.
I looked it up 2 years ago.
Yeah.
For a single plot, it's like 21 to 25,000.
Yeah.
That's
For
that was
burial.
that's burial. Yeah.
And then we also have like niches, which is for cremated remains,
Right.
and that'll go lower than. It depends on where though.
The section,
The section. It could depend on how much. If you want a premium lot, do you want a single lot? There's so many factors.
Okay, and then the other question, columbarium, any plans to expand that?
Which columbarium?
Well,
do you mean?
any of them. I mean, for more cremated remains.
So, actually, funny enough, I think I'm standing right on top of it. Our old offices, located right behind the crematory, there's an indoor mausoleum on the underside, and then there's a modern chapel. The modern chapel has 2 columbarium spaces inside of it, and then there's one underneath. Our offices used to be located right there, and then those offices have moved to this building. That office will eventually have a capital project and be expanded just for cremated remains. And that should be starting, hopefully, next year.
Monuments, is the cemetery accepting monuments, like some of the historic sites?
So, monuments in terms of your own?
Mausoleums?
Oh, mausoleums. So we have space for a few more mausoleums, unless we start closing pads and whatnot. We actually just had, I don't know if you saw it on
I think we saw
tour.
it. Soloway.
Soloway. That is our newest, grandest mausoleum, and it is purposely built so that people can come and enjoy and sit.
And that I mean, we were looking at it and speculating. It did not replace a previous existing mausoleum. It is you found a niche and put it there.
There are some mausoleums that over time and century did not withstand the weather and the elements, and they are in the hillsides. Those we have shut the hillside down. We would never put something then on top of it though, because there are still bodies there. So that has always been an empty space that was purposely made right there. If we can move towards the gallery. If anybody has any questions, everybody go.
I'm being buried right here at
Are you on Cedar Dell?
Cedar Dell.
Some of our, we have a little winding path, up a winding path. So right over here is where our founder, Henry Evelyn Pierpont, is situated. So it's just a little, see what you're about to walk into. So this wall is really focused on little quotes and information about the cemetery. Cleveland here, this is our very first historian. He wrote quite a few books on Greenwood, so if anybody is ever interested in the founding of our history, he is probably the best to look towards. My fun fact about this wall is that this is Arbor Water. Arbor Water was filled in the early 1900s, and this is where our current historic chapel sits. So if you passed on the historic chapel, this is actually where it is now, and this is the receiving tomb. So, and the receiving tomb is where bodies could be held in the winter or when a family member was coming from far away. We have residents a few days. We have some that stay quite a few decades. So, if you move throughout the room, you'll see that we have lots of little 3D models of very important monuments. Then we start off with our arches. Charlotte Panda, which on the ground tour, were you able to get to Charlotte Panda? Okay, so Charlotte Panda is one of our most famous residents here at Greenwood. She was a 17-year-old socialite who died on her 17th birthday. And the reason that why her monument is so popular is because she actually had accidentally designed it for herself. She designed it for her aunt who had died a year beforehand. And in the process, her bereaved parents took her design and commemorated her life. So it is 17 feet high by 17 feet long. It has 17 roses around the crown of her head and features information about her life. She knew many languages. She spoke French, Spanish, English, and she was in love with music. There are parrots. Some of it obviously has degraded over time, and then right off to the side is her lover, who has passed a year later from suicide. Yes. So, if you move, I know, heartbroken, supposedly killed himself in her parents' home, I cannot confirm or deny, I do not. Move through. There are more information about certain residents. Obviously, two of our most famous, Bernstein's Basquiat, artist and a musician. Again, Minerva from the Higgins Mausoleum sits atop the highest natural point in Brooklyn at Battle Hill. She waves to the Statue of Liberty. I actually have her old blueprint. She was holding a crown of laurels, and they moved it so that she is now waving to her sister in the bay, the Statue of Liberty. And that view can never be broken because in 2003, we had a campaign called Save the Vista, where we now own the air rights from Minerva down to the Statue of Liberty. So it can never be broken. I know. And then the piece de resistance is this right behind you. So because I run the archives and collections, this room is kind of my baby. This is 46 of our permanent residents, something having to do with their life or their art, things that they made. So we have this one down on the end, that is DeWitt Clinton. So the whole reason that Greenwood really became a booming success is because of the removal of DeWitt Clinton. We convinced DeWitt Clinton's family to move him from Albany to the cemetery in the hopes that it would generate a little bit of interest because rural cemeteries at the time, not a huge hit. And so, when we moved his body down from Albany, it took a few years, but there were so many people that were interested in seeing his burial place and the new statue that was placed that we became the huge success that we are today.
Yeah.
And so, also, fun fact about this wall is that if you're interested in anything on it, we have a little interactive board. It has 4 facts about every single person on the board, including their burial place, if you're interested in finding it. This took months and months and months, so please enjoy. And then lastly is our timeline. So this is Greenwood through the ages. It featured from the inception, before we were able to here, when the Lenape people were here, the glacial ponds, etc. And it moves all the way throughout our history. And my favorite little fun fact is that this photo right here is a photo of them placing what was a time capsule under Archivist.
When was that way?
Oh, 1955. So, and then obviously our last is the greenhouse. And so we also had an extensive collection of stereo views, so please write them out. This is an actual stereo view down at the end of the cemetery that was created in the early 1800s, so they're quite fun. They're interactive. And then on the back side, you have what we call here the changing gallery. So this is an artist space. So right now we have Celadon Land Space. This is a interactive element because you can go in, you can write a loved one's name on a piece of paper and it continues to add to it. And then off to the side, that is my office, the Center for Research. If anybody is interested in anything at Greenwood, our archives and collections are open to the public with slight restrictions, obviously. But please make an appointment, come and see us. We would love to have you. Any other questions? Yeah.
Sorry, I missed the thing about DeWitt Clinton's monument that I want to move on.
Yeah, so DeWitt Clinton's monument was placed here by Kirk Brown. I'm so sorry, I cannot remember his first name.
Henry Kirk.
Thank you so much. And so when his monument was placed, it was a huge tourist success. And many people started to come to Greenwood just to see where he was placed, and it generated quite a lot of buzz and interest and money for us.
Thank
you.
Do you have business cards to give out?
Oh, yeah, I do. I will.
There you go.
Anything else?
How did people typically get here? Because I know one of the issues that was highly emphasized was Greenwood always emphasized that it was possible to get here from Manhattan, but they weren't trains when it opened. So
Correct.
what were the means that they promoted? How did Greenwood want you to get here?
So, Ooh, you're asking a good question. All I know for a fact is that we predate the Brooklyn Bridge by at least 38 years. So I would say the ferries was the #1 way to get from the city, if I had to guess.
I guess it was probably a trolley line on
There would have been a trolley line on Fifth.
Fifth.
Down Fifth, there was a trolley line, and there was an above station subway, but we would predate that by many, many years. If you imagine, the reason that Greenwood was not a booming success right from the start is because Rural Cemetery was this very crazy idea. You have all of your family members in your family churchyard down at Trinity, but Trinity's telling you, like, you gotta get out. So if you think about it, we are here before any of this is. We are a field out in the middle of nowhere. This is a crazy idea that you're gonna take your family members from your family churchyard and move them way out here. There's no bridge to cross over. You don't have a car. You got a horse-drawn carriage and hopefully a ferry. And that's about all you've got. So it's a revolutionary idea. And then we are just so lucky that it took off in the way it did.
I've always felt that like a rural cemetery movement would have benefited if it had started like 2 decades later when trainings were more like Woodlawn Cemetery was founded right at the train stop. But,
Yeah.
And we could have had a Fifth Avenue elevated over here as well.
Yeah. But
later.
Yeah. Not in 1838. No, we are complete and total farmland. We buy all of our farmland from some of the biggest names in Brooklyn. So the majority of the land here at Greenwood comes from the Skammerhorn family. We buy 160 acres of their land, and that is what makes it's 485 acres, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to lie to you. And so but initially we only have 160 acres that we buy from the Skammerhorn. The next year we're allowed to buy 200 more, and thus this is how we have as much land as we have. And so we have maps in the archive that the majority come from the Skammerhorns, the Bergens, Martins, and
The Bennetts.
the Bennetts, correct. And it's a street
Yellow Pine.
I live right beside it. No, shockingly not Duluth. We do have a little bit of Duluth, but not crazy.
Roberts.
No, you know what? It's gonna come to me in about 20 minutes from now.
I got one question.
Yeah.
So you come into your 200th anniversary, right?
So we
Close to
opened
it, yeah?
this building actually opened on our 188th anniversary. So April 19th of this year.
So the question is, how much more can you accommodate in number? Grave sites.
This is what I'm saying. We can always close a path. We can always create more space. We are not anywhere near done with business here at Breakout. We're making up plans. We're coming up with ways to do it.
We're just dying to come here.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Who is Weir? Was that Alden Weir, the Impressionist painter?
No, so this is it's the Weir family. The information is so right.
James.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. You got it. James Weir. And then a couple years afterwards, there's a fire. The whole thing burns down. We rebuild. And it is purchased by the McGovern family, who is still doing. No, James Weir still has a flower shop.
Yeah, and Brian Monahan. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I know I've already asked many questions. Forgive me if you already said it's during the fan tour, but I just.
Yeah, it's all right.
What is your policy towards tours? Right, your tours coming in. If we want to bring a tour in.
Please, I have all said it, so please go
I
ahead.
think you know better than me.
Well, all right, I don't want to speak for the cemetery because I'm not directly affiliated, but I know that you, if it hasn't changed, your policies, you do allow outside tours, but you do have a per person fee, which I believe is $5.
It's $5.
Yeah. James.
I was gonna say you guys might know better than me. I hold tours only when it comes to this building and anything about like the Gilded Age and the basic.
You're your own tour.
Yeah, we don't do ghost tours. We don't do costumes. That is a big no-no.
I assume also you wouldn't, because I know Woodlawn is like this, you wouldn't do a mafia tour, or
No.
is that,
We used to have a mafia tour many years ago. I don't think they allow them quite, or maybe they just don't post them quite as much. But in the fall, we do have our biggest event of the year. It is called Nightfall. That is the closest thing to Halloween that we allow. It is when we allow the public to come in at night. It is a guided path, you know. Please don't go running off. We have that every single year. Security are very good here. And so you can go, you can see shows. There's a circus act. There are firebenders. There are singers. There are movies. You name it. It is a massive winding path, and it is one of the only events where we allow public in at night. So, and you can drink. No big
Well, then, in terms of the, and you may not know, but do you have policies about, because some cemeteries do not allow any like commentary on faults of the dead, you know, respect the dead, that kind of thing. You know, like you're not allowed to say that this guy beat up his wife or something like that.
You know, it's true to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I just wondering if what's the policy here.
I mean, we have quite a lot of figures that we could tell you about. We have Boss Tweed, he's on our wall. We didn't sugarcoat that he was perfect, you know. We will definitely tell you. My personal favorite permanent resident is Ward McAllister, which I don't know if anybody has seen the days. Yes. Not a perfect man in the slightest, and I will tell you all about it. He was petty, and that is why I love him. But Ward McAllister created essentially what was the 400, the amount of people that could fit in Caroline Astor's ballroom. He basically creates society in the Gilded Age. He then writes a book called Society as I Have Found It, and he donates his first copy to the New York Historical Society. Obviously, you can imagine. So thinly veiled. He didn't name names, but everybody knows exactly who you're talking about. And so we asked from the exact society that he creates. So what does he do? He goes back to the New York Society and he writes the names in the margin of everybody he talks about.
All right.
This is why he is my favorite. I think he's fascinating. I'm also from the South. He's from the South. Yeah. But I don't think you have to shy away. We talk about everybody, and nobody is perfect. And that definitely applies to some of our permanent residents.
Sure.
So we could probably spend the whole 2 hours here, but
actual meeting.
Very good.
okay. So first things first, my friends. It's nice to see everybody again. This is the first time I've been at a membership meeting in 5 months, just to do the work. So I wanted to send a tremendous thank you to both of our vice presidents, Katherine Hill and Shmavonian, for chairing the last 4 meetings in my absence. And it's teamwork like that that makes us such a great association, not just at the board level, but the committee level and everywhere else. I've been thinking a lot about this the last couple of weeks. I'm really proud of the work that GANYC has been doing. We're on a really, really positive trajectory right now to be able to continue serving you, our members, and the larger tour guiding industry as a whole, both in the short term and the long term. Much of that work does take place at the committee level, and I want to thank the committee chairs and all members of committees for their efforts. In particular, I wanted to thank all the committee chairs for going along with our new process for budgeting. We're coming up to budget season right now. We scheduled Zoom meetings, myself, Sarah Lyons, our treasurer, who is in the Bahamas right now, and Katherine Hill, vice president, who sat in on meetings with all of our committee chairs so that we had a better sense for what was coming down the line with the budget. And of course, our budget will be presented to the entire membership at next month's membership meeting, which is our annual general membership meeting, which is on September 9th, I believe, and it's going to be at the Javits Center. More details on that to follow. Many of the committees have also, at the board's request, named co-chairs or vice chairs, and this was in a effort to make GANYC's continued growth both strategic and sustainable. And like I said, there's so much that we should be proud of right now. I wanted to give a couple of shout outs to some committees in particular. Every single committee is worthy of a shout out, but just in the interest of time, I just highlighted a few. So first of all, I hope you all have noticed the amazing work that our Public Relations Committee has been doing lately. New social media campaigns like Two Truths and a Lie and also Meet the Guides. But these only work if everyone chips in. So emails have gone out asking for solicitations for the Meet the Guides program. Also, please amplify all of these campaigns on your own social media platforms as well. The Government Relations Committee, newly chaired by James Hoffman and his vice chair, Christina Hansen, have been doing amazing things in just a few months since they've taken over from Patrick Casey. We are making inroads in places in government that we've long wanted to, and it's all thanks to their hard work. Have to absolutely shout out the membership committee. Ann McDermott and Jeremy Wilcox worked really, really hard to solicit new members, welcome new members, and make sure that everything runs smoothly for existing members. The membership committee is the heart and soul of the Guides Association, and it's their efforts that help fuel GANYC's growth. I want to mention industry relations, led by Bob Gilbert, who's not here, and the new co-chair, Shmavonian, diving into how we can better connect with the tourism industry at large, including attendance at industry trade shows, and there's going to be a lot more about that coming down the line. The certification class is launching concurrent classes later this month for the first time, having 2 classes running at the same time. I mentioned this to Michael during the, Michael Villinger, who is here somewhere. Where's Michael? There. I actually got a gig last week, specifically because they found me as a certified guide on the GANYC website, which was pretty cool. The class pays dividends, and I know they do have a few more openings. The deadline for applying for the class is August 11th. So you have a little time to apply if you are interested, and Michael and Jonathan Turer can give you a lot more information about that. And then the last committee I wanted to shout out today is the Multilingual Guides Committee under Chair Dmitry Kurmanov and Co-Chair Jose Rodales. They are absolutely starting to share info with our multilingual guides and starting to move on some different initiatives. As you all know, GANYC started as the Multilingual Guides Association of New York, so getting that committee kind of up and running again and being a vital part of our association speaks to our roots, so it's really, really important. As I said, the rest of the committees also do amazing work. I'm not trying to exclude anybody, I just wanted to highlight a few of those things right now. There's always more work to be done, so if anybody in this room is not on a committee, what's wrong with you? No, obviously, we know we're an all-volunteer association. It is not mandatory to join a committee, but the more you put into GANYC, the more you get out of it, and it's the best way to meet people, is to really work close with them on committees and work on issues in the tourism industry that you are passionate about. All of our meetings, most of them take place on Zoom. They're all listed on our calendar on our website, so if you are interested in joining a committee, just look for the next meeting, hop on the Zoom call, or reach out to one of the committee chairs. I don't have too much else to report. I just wanted to close with a couple of upcoming tourism industry events. I do see Jim Carr, president of the National Federation here. Sorry, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. That happens sometimes. President of the National Federation of Tourist Guide Associations up from Washington, D.C., and he's going to address the meeting in just a minute. And he's going to talk in part about the upcoming conference in Utah this coming January. But there's a couple other things you should know about. This Friday, August 7th, the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations, the WFTGA, is hosting its latest global networking forum. This is a Zoom event, and they're not always time friendly for us here in New York, but this one is. It's from 12 to 2, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., or 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. It's hosted by the WFTGA Team Africa, and it's a great way to just kind of meet guides from all around the world, talk about different issues that are affecting different guides and different guiding communities. And it connects tour guides, heritage and nature guides, museum and church guides, tour managers, cruise managers, and other visitor-facing professionals to connect, exchange ideas, and support one another across borders. I did put the link to register on the GANYC members Facebook page if anybody's interested. And like I said, that's this coming Friday from 12 to 2. I'm sure we're going to send out some more information as we get a little bit more, but there are 2 other events in November, kind of in back-to-back weeks, that are worth noting. They both feature educational sessions, fan tours, and interview opportunities with tour operators, mostly for over-the-road tour directors. And they're both partners of the Guides Association. So the first is the IATDG, International Association of Tour Directors and Guides Conference. Its annual Tour Connect conference will be in Las Vegas this year from November 8th to the 12th. Just show of hands, how many of you have been to an IATDG Tour Connect event before? Okay, great. It is a great event, definitely worth checking out. And there's a lot of new energy with IATDG. They have a new executive director who's doing a lot of great things. And hey, it's Vegas. So we'll share the link on how to register as well. They are a strategic affiliate of the Guides Association. The other one is TripCon, which is hosted by Trip School, and I know some of you have been to that. Who's been to TripCon before? First one was here in Brooklyn. This is the third one they're doing. It's going to be in Louisville this year, so the bourbon will be flowing November 16th to the 19th, and we'll put the link on the website. We'll send out the links for both of those to register in case anybody's thinking of going. Is anybody registered for either of the conferences now? IATDG, raise your hand. And TripCon? Okay, well, you have time if you're interested. They're always great events, so something to keep in mind. And that's pretty much all I have for you tonight. Before we keep moving with the meeting, does anybody have any questions for me or the board? Okay, yes, Eileen.
Eileen Ward. I just have a question. I know there, something had been sent out a little while ago, if people would report, you know, like if they were getting work, you know, I was just wondering, do we have any idea either for GANYC or the tour industry, now that we've gotten through the World Cup, the Knicks, most of 250 goes on all year, but, you know, the July 4th, there certainly were tons of tourists in town, and I, you know, definitely saw some buses and stuff. Do we have any sense of how much GANYC tour guides benefited, or we don't have that data yet?
I have not actually looked at the latest results in a while. I don't know if people have continued to fill out the survey or not. It's more anecdotal than anything else. I would say that it wasn't exactly the windfall that we all hoped for, but I think it did pick up a little bit at the end, and I know some people in this room picked up direct World Cup work, which was great. But we'll take a look at that and see. I know that from a hotel room standpoint, NYC Tourism Convention basically reported that it was a success in that regard, but that doesn't mean those people were taking organized guided tours or anything like that. So I think the focus, especially for the World Cup, was primarily on the matches themselves. But we'll take a look at that and see what just it kind of fell off the radar, but I'll take a look at that and share information as necessary. We can send out the survey again to see how people are handling or how these events have treated them. So thank you for bringing that up. Anything else, my friends? Okay, with that, I am going to call up Jim Carr, president of the National Federation of Tourist Guide Associations. That's the NFTGA for short. And he's got a couple of NFTGA initiatives to tell you all about. So Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love coming to GANYC meetings as a longtime GANYC member who's based in DC. And I'm a little bit of a cemetery nerd, so a little bit of cemetery trivia. Who is the only president who is married in a cemetery? Anyone know? Ronald Reagan.
First or second?
First, Jane White. Okay, so very quick announcements. We do have, as Michael mentioned, the NFTGA conference coming up in January in Salt Lake. And if you're interested in genealogy, Salt Lake City is the place to be. We're going to have a couple of sessions on genealogical research, and they'll be visiting some facilities. As you know, the Mormons are the best record keepers in the world. We've invited the president of the American Alliance of Museums. So I actually went to their national conference in Philadelphia some weeks ago, and it was fantastic. And their conference next year will be in Houston, and it's really good. I'm trying to get more of our tour guides around the country interested in learning more about museums. And by the way, in Houston, as it turns out, they have the only museum in the country dedicated to funeral homes. So it's one of the places I will certainly visit while I'm there. I do want to mention the Obama Presidential Center. So we tried very hard in my capacity as NFTGA president. We were able to secure a limited number of tickets to the Obama Presidential Center. So you've seen stories in the news, you've read articles. You can visit the grounds, you can visit the gym, you can visit their library, which is very clever. The tickets that we have are for November 13th, which is Friday the 13th. Hope you're not superstitious. And we can be admitted as of 12:15. So if any of you are interested, as it turns out, it dovetails very nicely with the IATTG conference in Las Vegas. And so you can save a one-way airfare by going to Vegas and then stopping in Chicago on your way back. So that's November 13th. And if any of you are interested, send me an email, monumentsman@gmail.com. The tickets are $35 payable in advance. I have to tell you, it was really difficult to secure any tickets, but we were able to secure some tickets. So I also, while I'm up here, I do want to thank Gary Dennis, who's a very good board member. We're delighted to have him on the national board of the NFTGA, and both at our board meetings and our monthly meetings, which Mike Morgenthal has been attending pretty religiously, their virtual sessions. And we all have a lot to learn from our colleagues in other parts of the country. So it's really good that Mike is able to participate and Gary as well, because we know they're getting information that they're passing on to you guys. So thank you very much. It's nice to be home. I still consider New York City my home. I grew up in the Village. I was actually born in St. Vincent's Hospital. So thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Does anybody have any questions for Jim?
Yes, sir, I do have it.
Yes.
Mr. Jim, you say you grew up in the village, East Village or West Village?
What's that?
Did you grow up in the East Village or the West Village?
Oh, the West Village.
I did have one question, Jim. Do you know when registration for the Utah conference is set to open?
It's going to open in September.
In September. Okay, great. So we will definitely get the word out to the membership about that. Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to move on to committee reports right now. The first committee report is actually the awards. Normally Sarah and or Bob would deliver this, but neither of them are here, so I'm going to read it on their behalf. I don't know that I can really answer any questions, but if you do have questions, you can ask me, but I'd encourage you to reach out to Sarah specifically as chair of the Apple Awards Committee. So the Awards Committee will have its first meeting for the 2026-27 award season on August 18th at 6 p.m. Via Zoom. For those who are unfamiliar, the Guides Association hosts an award ceremony honoring greatness in the industries that neighbor ours and make ours so much fun to work in, like museums, New York book writing, food, preservation, and more. And it's called the Apple Awards. It's also a fantastic networking opportunity for our members, connecting you with the honorees and their friends. And the committee is thrilled that GANYC and its members have been able to develop relationships with vendors and partners in our shared industry spaces through this event in years past. The meeting on the 18th will be the first planning session for the upcoming ceremony. Usually takes place in late February or early March every year. And the main agenda points will be setting production and pre-production up for success, setting our production calendar, and selecting the Lifetime Achievement and Guiding Spirit Award recipients. Anyone who would like to be part of the planning of the event is welcome to attend the meeting, which has been sent out on Wild Apricot. I think it went out yesterday or 2 days ago. Anyone who's not planning on attending but would like to put someone up for consideration as a potential Lifetime Achievement or Guiding Spirit recipient, with these awards given to non-GANYC and GANYC members respectively. So Lifetime Achievement is for non-GANYC members, and the Guiding Spirit, the Lee Gelber Guiding Spirit Award, is for members of GANYC. You can do so by emailing awards@ganyc.org. So if you have someone who you think would be worthy of either of those awards, please email awards@ganyc.org with your nominations and preferably contact information for that person as well. Sarah's away for the week, but she'll be collecting that information and responding as soon as she has decent Wi-Fi. I guess the cruise ship doesn't have decent Wi-Fi. And of course, if you have any questions at all about the award ceremony, you can email awards@ganyc.org, and Sarah will get back to you as soon as she can. So, any questions that I can pretend to answer for the awards committee? Okay, great. So we'll keep moving on, and next up I'll call up Cherie Davis for the Public Relations Committee.
So the PR committee this past month, together with the South Street Seaport Museum, helped create a series of videos promoting the Trivia Aboard the Tall Ship event, which was hosted by Mark. Thank you, Mark. So there were two types of videos. One was kind of promo, like, hey, come to the trivia thing. And then the other one was asking various New Yorkers questions, trivia questions. So the how well do you know New York, including Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, got over 2,300 visits. And the general videos with Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok got over 9,300 visits. Yeah. So if you are not, or if we are not following you on any of the platforms, make sure you're following us. I'm slowly going through, making sure that we have mutual following, because we also have started to collaborate as well. So, and we'll have a small little session on how to collaborate at some point this fall when we're all a little slower. So the reason for the large gap in the video views from 2,000 for one to over 93 was the general videos. We collaborated with the Seaport Museum, so they shared them, as did almost every member of the PR committee. Our TikTok account is relatively new, so consider following us on TikTok. All the cool kids are. And for our growth on our website, well, our social media platforms are growing slowly because we were doing okay already. For the website, we actually had less visits to the homepage and Hire a Guide, but more visits to the site as a whole. And a lot of those in the top 50 were to various profiles under Hire a Guide. So if you do not have a profile up under Hire a Guide, you should get one. And then we will be launching a brand new series called Meet the Guide. This will be a series of videos featuring you guys. So you'll get to pick from a set of questions, and the PR committee will come. They will make sure that you look good on video. They will do all the editing, and we will even link to your websites and all of that. Now we're starting with the PR committee, the executive board, and the committee chairs. You all got an email. Please don't think it's optional. And I know, it's like, I don't want to be on video. You'll be fine. Ivana's really good at making people comfortable on video. If you're interested in working with the PR committee, as a blogger, doing video, photography, submitting or helping us with copywriting and things like that, drop a line to publicrelations@GANYC.org, and we have a meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. We'd love to see all of you guys there. Any questions?
Any questions for Cherie? Mark?
Just a shout out to Andy McNeil who did the videoing. Really great to work with him. Made it really easy. Technically it was great. So if you're concerned about being on video, he'll definitely handle you gently.
Yeah, Andy are doing it with the making people look good on video. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cherie. And just kind of on the macro level, the whole idea behind this is just to drive traffic to the GANYC website and just get bigger and bigger exposure for tour guiding in general and specific guides like all of you, so you get more work and make more money. So that's kind of the end game of all of this. So So thank you to the Public Relations Committee for their efforts. Next up, we have the Membership Committee with Jeremy Wilcox.
All right, hello everyone. In the interest of time, I'll keep the report as brief as possible. So I want to thank all of our members of the committee, including my co-chair, Ann McDermott, as well as John Henke, Maggie Brown, Tony DeSante, Bob Gelber, James Hoffman, Vince Meehan, and Shmavonian. So we've been getting a lot of new members lately. In fact, we are currently up, the association as a whole, currently up to 392 active members. It is the committee's goal to get that up to an even 400 by the end of the fiscal year at the end of October. So I believe we can do that, so the fingers crossed. And we always love to, at this point, highlight some of our newer members. I know some of you are here, so if you have joined GANYC in the 2026 calendar year, please stand up right now. I know we got a few of you. Thank you guys for joining the association and being part of that move toward 400 members. And want to also note that the mentorship program that is run through our committee is continuing to do well. Shmavonian has handed it off to Suzanne Reisman, who has been managing that very well. We've got several successful cohorts operating right now, and those will be reassessed in the fall. Also want to note some of the upcoming membership committee events, including some of these we've already sent out info on. August 26th at 6 p.m. is the rescheduling for the casual networking get-together, which will be on the rooftop park of Pier 57, and we will keep our fingers crossed that the weather is kind to us this time. We also have, for some of our newer members, and emails about this have gone out, our new members orientation session, which we do twice a year in the spring and the fall, also at Pier 57. That will be September 23rd at 5:30 p.m. And this is tentative, we're still finalizing it, but we are looking at October 13th at 6 p.m. for an official networking happy hour. We are looking to do that at Phoebe's in the East Village, where we had one fairly recently, a year or so ago. That venue tended to work out pretty well, so stay tuned for that. We are also in the beginning initial discussions with the Industry Relations Committee about what the 2027 holiday party will be, but that is very, very early on. So that is our report for this month.
Great. Any questions for Jeremy? Harvey?
I was told that I could ask the membership committee about rebranding. I don't know if you would be.
No, there's going to be a report from the Rebranding Committee in a moment. So, any other questions for Jeremy? Okay, thank you so much, Jeremy. Speaking of which, next committee, the Rebranding Committee with Katherine Hill.
Hey everyone. Well, we have news. Couple things in news. Several months ago, we reported to you that we had hired a design studio passion project to lead our rebranding efforts. Unfortunately, after working with them on 2 rounds of design concepts, the rebranding committee, with the full support of the executive board, decided that it was in the best interest of GANYC to sever ties with Passion Project and hire a different, more experienced design studio. First round of concept directions presented by Passion Project were not of the aesthetic nor conceptual caliber needed to represent our professional association. Even though we provided voluminous background information about GANYC's history, our mission, and all the valuable input from our members from the discovery surveys that you provided, as well as we had a creative brief that clearly outlined our criteria, our goals for the rebranding project, the initial design concepts were highly disappointing. So we stepped back, we reflected on how we could better communicate our expectations, and prepared some visuals to inspire enhanced thinking, but round 2 presentation was just as disappointing. None of the concepts presented were salvageable, so we concluded that we were not being heard, the work lacked maturity and gravitas, and essentially the designer just didn't get us. While Passion Project has an impressive portfolio, ultimately we discovered that the designer is not the right fit for a professional association, and it was time to cut our losses and move on to a different design studio. Okay, with the good news. We have signed a contract with the design studio Brooklyn-based graphics department, led by not 1, but 2 experienced brand designers, Ana Luisa Realmuto and Nate Brudzinski. They both have years of experience in all aspects of brand development, and we were impressed by their strategic approach before any creative work would be done. Note that at the end of our initial selection process, graphics department was one of our top 2 choices, and it was a close vote. So, we hired them. They are deserving of our reconsideration, and they are certainly thrilled to take on this rebranding project, and we're very excited to work with them. We have already gotten the ball rolling with the graphics department. After a few initial conversations, they followed up with their own discovery questionnaire, much like the one we did for the group, for the membership, in order to get them to know everything they can about GANYC, especially our expectations, present challenges, and future goals. The insightful questions gave us much to consider, especially where GANYC plans to be in the next 5 to 10 years. We're also happy to report that on Monday we had our kickoff, our first meeting in person. Cherie, Mike, and I all believe that Anna and Nate do get us. They are talented and smart, and we are confident that their professionalism and thorough process will result in a brand identity that we all can be proud of, and will provide us with the tools for our branding, marketing, and communication needs. We will keep you up to date on the brand development process. Our goal is to have the whole new brand identity for the Guides Association of New York City ready for the beginning of the new year. So, we do thank you for your patience and your support through this journey to rebrand GANYC.
So I know Harvey had a question, so we'll start with Harvey.
Hi, Harvey Paul Davidson. I know I've been in some initial contact with you in the past about branding. I've had experience with logos. I think it's most important that the logo tells the people who we are. And I've had a rough draft done of a logo I'm suggesting, and I'll pass on some copies to you. What I'm suggesting is, one of the things that people know about is the Statue of Liberty. And the Statue of Liberty is holding the torch. But I'm suggesting the Statue of Liberty hold a pineapple. Why a pineapple? Because international visitors know that's a symbol of hospitality. Under her arm, I'm suggesting that she holds a book, which is on the statue, and we can put whatever we want on the book. We can list tour guides, tours, whatever we want to say. This would be superimposed on an apple. Why an apple? New York is known as the Big Apple. And then circling all this would be what we have in our present logo, the Guides Association of New York City. And whatever copy that the branding people want to come up with, as far as the tagline, that could be put under the logo. So I'd like to pass on some of my drawings that I have here for you to consider and pass on to the branding people.
Thank you, Harvey. So let me just add to that. Over the course of the months, we've done our own internal discovery, and Cherie and I and Mike and Pat, we're working on what they call mood boards, where you're providing creative, interesting things that connect to, it's like a collage, but it's to connect to all things GANYC. It's a way to inspire. So, Harvey, we will add your suggested ideas, although I just want to tell you, since we hired a rebranding firm, a studio, we cannot tell them what to do, because that's the point of them being creative. However, but we will pass on your idea. And we had a kickoff meeting with them, and they're incredibly receptive. We were actually reluctant to show them some of the things that we have been thinking about, but not that they should follow. It was just for inspiration. So we will make sure that they see your ideas, okay?
Thank you. Just remember, a logo should be whimsical for what I think we're trying to accomplish. Yes, Cherie.
Just remember that rebranding is far more than just a logo.
I understand.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to be getting into a very deep program and system with tools and everything. But when we were talking about the ideas for a brand, before we even talk about visuals or anything creative, we've been doing a lot of soul searching. Who is GANYC? What are we? And so we even just looking at words to help them go into the creative process. Right now we're in strategic mode, so nothing visual has happened other than some visuals that we showed them, just things that we enjoy. But you know, respectability, authority, leadership, community, established, legacy. These are words that we provided for them because those are words that we want, those are things that we want our brand to convey on first, you know, impression. I mean, there's only so much you can say with a brand like that.
Kathy, will the membership be able to vote on the images presented for branding? I mean, is there an opportunity for all of us to vote on what is being proposed?
No, I'm sorry, no.
Not at all.
The reason being is, I've been in branding for 20 years, before I was a tour guide. And when you design by committee, it gets very difficult, very messy, a lot of emotions. We're asking you to trust that we have put so much time into this and thought, and it's really to reflect. And maybe, you know, at first glance, you might not like it. We can't please everyone, but we're gonna do our very best, and hopefully you will be proud to walk around with that new lanyard and, you know, what have you. Do you wanna say something?
No, I just, you know, we're not even close to have anything to share with you in the beginning, but yeah, I mean, the association elected leadership for us to make these sorts of decisions. There's no way we could get input from 400 people on what our new logo is supposed to look like. So it's just, that's why we sent out all the surveys to consolidate that information, and then we're going, you know, we're gonna take all of that information as best we can, sharing it with the brand designer that we hired, and we're hoping to come up with something terrific.
What about one of our meetings? If we had
We have talked with them about coming to the meeting when the time is right, but we're not even close to that just yet.
Once the brand is done, the plan is to invite our designers here so that we can discuss how we plan on using it, and I mean, yeah, we'll get there. It's gonna happen. I mean, we included you during our discovery process. We asked everybody to fill out a questionnaire and tell us what you think about GANYC, and all of that discovery leads to strategy, which leads to creative. So it's a process. Yes.
Let's say if they give you several things to pick from, could you expand it to the membership? Like, they have two things, you narrowed it down to two.
We just explained that. It is impossible to have 400 people vote on different, give feedback on different ideas.
Even when it's narrowed down to
It would take a whole meeting and
It would take a lot more than just one meeting. Again, I'm not trying to be didactic about this, but you elected this board to be the leaders when it came to this. We formed this committee. Everybody had a chance to join this committee. We had some people join, and the decision is gonna be made more than just by the four people. We're just the ones interacting with the design firm now. When we have
just to be efficient,
solid designs, the larger committee will have a voice, and they can certainly potentially solicit input from others. But I'm telling you right now, we are not putting this up to a vote of the membership.
And, you know, we have high standards. Just know that. We have high standards for quality, and that's the reason why we let the other designer go, because the work wasn't up to muster. She wasn't getting us, and it wasn't of the caliber we were expecting. So we do have high standards, and we will stick to them.
Any other thoughts or questions for rebranding?
Huzzah!
Okay, thank you. And I would just add one other thing. Catherine, more than anybody else, basically from the moment she joined the board 2.5 years ago, this has been her, pardon the pun, passion project. So she has dedicated so much time and effort to this, as has Cherie. They've really been the two leading lights on this. And we know it's been a long process, but it's coming along, and we are very confident that everybody, not that most of you, I don't want to say everybody, but you'll be very pleased with what the results are. And the whole idea, as we've said from the beginning, this is to set up GANYC for strategic success moving forward in the short and the long term, right? We've never really considered our brand as a whole. We do amazing things. The idea is to get that story out there, and by rebranding, which as Cherie mentioned, is much more than just a logo. That is the idea, and then there's going to be other kind of secondary things that will follow once the brand is has been unveiled, that will allow us to promote to the wider world who we are and why all of you are so amazing. But we appreciate the questions, and please keep the questions coming. And if you have specific questions, you can always reach out to me or to Katherine, or to Cherie, and we're happy to answer any and all questions you have about the rebranding process. So, thank you. Okay, so let's keep moving along. Next up, we have Education Committee with Nina Mende.
A short report. We've been doing this, we're on our 52nd year. We were happy to, we're still doing programming for the 250th anniversary. And we have a really nice team, and you probably know a lot of these people already: Bob Gelber, Jeremy Wilcox, John Semlek, Lisa Puccio, Susan Birnbaum, Eileen Roth, Mark Capitano, Sarah McGrath, Suzanne Reisman, Lee Hallingby, and our board liaison, Daria Walcott. So we're just a team of leaders, always were. We thank the board for organizing the open forum, and also thank John Semlak for the pre-meeting fam of Greenwood Cemetery. Coming up, we're also working on our guest speaker season going into 2027. And so if you have an idea for a guest speaker, I know we have limited spots, but there are ways of involving them in our organization. We've done all kinds of hybrid kinds of things, from webinars to fam tours. We've done historians doing fam tours, authors doing fam tours with us, so you can include people just like we include organizations somehow creatively. If we can't fit them in a guest speaker spot and someone is exceptional, we'll find ways. Coming up, August 9th, this is sold out. It's Cooler in Queens. This fam tour is coming up. Beyond Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, Reading the World with Steve Copper. He's doing that. It's sold out, but maybe we'll do another one, an encore. And then we're going to Staten Island, September 19th, fam tour from 10 to 12:30, national, at Westerly National Prohibition Park in Westerly Staten Island with Mark Anderson, and also from 2 to 4:30, architecture at Westerly Staten Island, architecture and builders with Mark Anderson. It's a full day. There's a music, you can do one or the other tour, but also there's a music festival going on, so it should be a lot of fun. Coming up also, Lee Hallingby is going to be doing, I think it's an encore of her murals in Spanish Harlem. And we're looking forward to a debut tour by Emiliano Perez about Washington Heights, fam tour past, present, and future of Washington Heights. He was going to do the Spanish-only Dominican Republic, Dominican migration tour. That didn't quite work out, the timing of it and such. But this tour will be in English, and it'll be an insider's view of this wonderful neighborhood. So we're really looking forward to it. And just a reminder, we launched a new fam tour feedback survey. So if you do a fam tour with us, you can get feedback in a very logical way. And also special thanks to Suzanne Reisman and Sarah McGrath and Lisa for putting it all together. No-show penalties are still $25. Thanks for this, can go up. But you have to let us know within 48 hours. So if the tour begins at 9 o'clock on Thursday and Tuesday at 9 o'clock, that's the cutoff. And then otherwise you're gonna have to contact us in person, but you'll be charged the $25. Our next committee meeting is going to be usually the third Wednesday of the month. It's going to be on Zoom at 6 p.m. August 19th. So, please join us. We'd love to see you. Just a heads up, for our past month, we have an index of past tours, since I probably have a little time to read. Thank you, Kat Stan-Leon, for the fam tour Strange and Sensational Stories. Midtown, she developed this in the certification course, so and she did, and so we thank her. Pre-meeting fam, The Occupied City, organized by Bob Gilbert, and the Historic Hotels of Midtown with Amy Cook, and that's an encore and wonderful tour. So we thank people who did that, and that's about it. If you have any questions.
So just a couple more committees left. Next up, Government Relations with James Hoffman. James, come on up.
All right, hello everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Christina for taking on the position as the new chair, or additional chair to Government Relations Committee. A lot of you are probably familiar with her already. She's on the board as well, and she has a strong history in tourism, media relations, navigating local politics, and advocating for a workforce that has benefited immensely from her efforts. So we're very lucky to have her on board and to have her dedicate her efforts to this committee. Christina, did you want to say anything?
Thank you for the introduction. But yes, I have a little more experience with government relations than I would care to have, but yes.
Yeah, and you said you weren't busy right now, so
Yeah, so I got nothing else going on at all, any place with any government officials whatsoever.
Well, thank you so much for doing this and dedicating your time to this. In terms of past month, we've followed up on the administrative code with Harvey Epstein's office. For anyone who's new, basically the code for sightseeing guides is kind of out of date. It has a lot of stuff that doesn't really apply anymore and restrictions on how much you can charge. And we've asked them to draft a bill to change the code for sightseeing guides. And they've promised that they're still gonna do that. They're still interested in drafting that bill. And it's kind of just a matter of giving them a little bit of time. So we're gonna follow up as appropriate and let you guys know when that process starts. Omni bulk sales, a lot of people have asked about having Omni cards sold in bulk to tourism merchants. We sent in a request to the MTA for information. It's still labeled as being in process, so hopefully it'll come soon. But to sort of tackle this issue on two fronts, I've also reached out to the office of Councilmember Hanif with this issue, and they've responded back. So they said that they're gonna reach out to their contacts at the MTA as well, and their contacts has promised to get back to them and tell us what their official policy is on purchasing Omni cards in bulk, because people have had an issue with being able to do that. Some people have said they've had success doing this over the phone, and I called the number that was supplied, and that person told me that must have just slipped through or something, that they don't do it by phone either. So basically, at the moment, if you go to their website, if you call them by phone, no tourism merchants or operators are allowed to purchase Omni cards in bulk. So we're now following up this in two different fronts, and hopefully we'll get an answer to that pretty soon. And the contact at the office, the council member, was really enthusiastic and mentioned that if it's not allowed, they might be interested in following up with some sort of legislative action as well. So that's just sort of something to keep in mind. There was people who have asked in the past, and actually in the last meeting as well, if we could reach out to figures in local government and invite them to speak before our membership. So we've done that. We're gonna keep the name, I guess, in the wraps because we're figuring out the scheduling, just in case it falls through, but they're interested in speaking to GANYC, and we're working in conjunction with the Education Committee to hopefully schedule that. We're gonna talk to them, I believe, next week. And even if that falls through, we'll continue to look for potential speakers. And then I guess the last thing on here, as part of our effort to build sort of state level relationships, I'll be joining the advocacy committee at the New York State Tourism Industry Association, which you can Google later if you want, but basically, as the name suggests, is a collection of stakeholders in the tourism world throughout the state that sort of functions as a trade association for DMOs and businesses throughout New York State. So this will get us a seat at the table for New York State tourism policy discussions, and we'll strengthen our connections to other stakeholders kind of beyond the city level as well. So the first meeting will be next month, and we'll keep you posted as that relationship kind of develops. And so that's kind of an overview of everything this month. Any questions?
Great. First of all, just one thing, for those of you who don't know, a DMO is a destination marketing organization. Basically like visit Putnam County, visit Cortland County. That's the bulk of who makes up NFTGA. NFTGA also gave GANYC an award about 1.5 years ago. And I know about 2 years ago, Katherine did attend their conference as well. So we have had a relation with them, but having James on the board on this advisory committee is certainly a great step forward for us. So thank you for taking
and it's not just DMOs, but it is,
right.
That's a large.
That's a large portion of who makes up their membership. Mark.
Yeah, there's been a lot of buzz about Statue Cruises and what's happening down Statue of Liberty with the groups being split or not split. And I know that is Megan now working for?
She works. She's not full time with them, but she is working with Statue Cruises. Yeah.
And I know that the issue with NPS has been going on forever, and it's extremely frustrating to everybody involved. But is there any movement on that?
So I can address that really quick. Megan reached out to me because I guess from Croatia, she had a virtual meeting with Statue Cruises. And she said that she is trying to facilitate a meeting between tour guides represented by GANYC. So she reached out to me specifically in that regard, and potentially tour operators. Because to be honest with you, especially from my experience from 5-6 years ago when the ban went into place on where we were and were not allowed to guide on the islands, it's more of a tour operator fight than a tour guide fight, to be honest with you. And I know, Mark, you have had both hats, in your world. So if and when we do get this meeting, we will certainly invite some tour operators, both local, and we think it'd be more impactful to have some of the big national tour operators, particularly student operators, a lot of whom have been opting out of sending their people to the statue because it's become so much of a process and so problematic. I know that of the student groups I was with this year, I would say 60% did Circle Line instead of going to the statue and to Ellis Island itself. Others are using the Staten Island ferry. So Megan has been incredibly open about trying to connect us. She says that Statue Cruises is very willing to work with us. The problem is the National Park Service, who, according to Megan, they give Statue Cruises just as much of a hard time as they give tour guides. So perhaps if there's some sort of united front, we might be able to get some movement with national parks. So it is starting to bubble up again. I basically spent a year of my life working on that back when the issue first came up. So I have some PTSD when it comes to that, but it is definitely something that we need to address. I will say that just from my personal experience, how many of you lead tours to the islands at any given time? Yeah, so a good amount of you. So it's a big issue for all of us. Certainly the new tent, which was dictated by an NPS contractor. Statue Cruises had very little to say about the design of the new tent. They did not take into account groups at all. I will tell you from personal experience, some of the staff there has been helpful. If you walk in, this is what I've done, and say, hey, I have a group of 40 coming in, where do you want them? And they'll usually point me to a corner inside the tent to collect everybody. Obviously, you get a newbie or a cranky Statue Cruises staff member that day, you might have some issues. And we know it's not just at Battery Park. We know there are issues both on Liberty Island and Ellis Island with groups getting separated at times as well. This is all things that we want to bring up to them. And if the obvious question is, why are they reaching out to us now? Their sales are down. So now they want help. Let's take advantage of that while we can. So, did that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah, it's helpful because it's been going on forever.
Yeah, and these things move glacially slowly, so I would not expect any immediate impact, but the fact that the conversation is starting in is great, and we can't thank Megan enough for trying to connect us. She's a fierce advocate for tour guides, and GANYC specifically, wherever she makes connections. So
maybe we can bring it up to Mika Lasher, assumingly the new congressman, because if it is NPS, that's a federal issue. And I think a congressman office.
Mika Lasher isn't quite the congressman yet.
Not yet, I'm saying.
but yes.
Like sometime in January.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, we reached out to Dan Goldman's office back when this first bubbled up. We didn't get much response from them, but it's always good to try to make new connections as well. Isn't it, James?
Yes.
Okay, great. Jared, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, so Dan Goldman's being replaced by Brad Lander.
Mhm.
So it's the East Village's new congressperson, but it's also the Statue of Liberty's new congressperson. And there's a lot of tour guide voters in the East Village.
So yeah, I mean, the more pressure we can put on, the better. But NPS is kind of its own entity as well. So, but if they get pressure from congresspeople, that certainly could help our cause. So, Bill, and Buzz, identify yourself too.
I am Bill Goodhart. And beyond that, I have a question going back to when you were talking about the code for tour guides. I was unsure what you mean and what that meant. Does it affect their licensing? Does it affect the test we take?
It is part of the licensing, or what requires it as well. Some of it is just not enforced. But there are some things, for example, like I think, what is it? I always forget. It's like $1 per person per hour. You're only supposed to charge that amount. I think it goes back various decades.
Oh yeah, of course. 1930s.
It's kind of a historical document itself, I guess. But
and I want to guide them to dens of ill repute.
Yeah, dens, and we want that to be pro dens and overview. And also gambling houses, which is funny, because now we have casinos, so. But basically, we want the change of brand updated, because sometimes that's people's first introduction. People have come to me and said, I don't know if I really need a license, because it's included with all these other things that aren't enforced. So we'll just kind of make that a little bit more clear, and to emphasize the need for licensing, and maybe to add some things as well. We're hoping to revise the sightseeing test in addition, and maybe we can add the code to have a requirement that it's updated every couple of years. That's kind of a discussion we'll have with the board if we want to add stuff, but in general, we just want to tighten it up.
I just want to add on to that too, which is that,
Say that, Christina.
okay,
Say
sorry,
that,
Christina. When it comes to the administrative code, which is a historic document at this point, and in fact, the tour guides exam is also historic. I think it was last updated in 2003.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things that James has done a lot of work reaching out to BCWP and everything like that about starting a conversation on updating it. And so the discussion with the administrative code would be to write something into the administrative code that says, say, every 10 years, DCWP needs to go through a test updating thing, because there's all kinds of things that we direct people to that didn't even exist in 2003. So we got almost a quarter century of history. But also when it comes to the administrative code, one of the things that government relations works on, in addition to the code and the test and building relationships with elected officials and various agencies, is we do call for enforcement of the administrative code to the point of Statue City Cruises, enforcement of battery park ticket seller regulations. Those are things that DCWP has with the World Cup, recently passed legislation to try to encourage tourist outreach about various scams, pedicab scams, seller scams, or whatever. And we can't very well, as an organization with licensed tour guides, saying we want enforcement when none of us are following the existing administrative code, because it just doesn't apply. We're supposed to have a special badge, we're supposed to have a little uniform, we're supposed to only charge $1 per person or whatever. And obviously we're not doing that because it doesn't even make any sense anymore. So Councilmember Epstein has expressed, his legislative director has expressed that the council member has a very strong interest in going through the administrative code of the city of New York and rationalizing it, modernizing it, pulling out things that just no longer make sense that are on the books, so that the administrative code is more streamlined and able to be enforced. That sum it up?
That was sums up. And she did actually talk to him as well. So.
Yeah, she's talked to him as well, but yeah, that's great.
That's it in a nutshell. Any other questions?
We actually do need to keep moving along, so if you do have more questions, please reach out to James or to Christina, either directly or through the email address governmentrelations@ganyc.org. And as I said at the top of the meeting, they're doing a hell of a lot already in the brief amount of time that they've been in charge of the committee, so it's really very, very encouraging. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
So our final committee report of the evening, Industry Relations Committee with Shmavonian.
Standing in for Bob. Industry Relations did hold a committee meeting on July 28th. Harvey was phenomenal in that meeting and passing on a lot of information from his experience at conferences, which means that we're going to be able to take that information into planning next year. So thank you, Harvey. That was really interesting. Guy Gallery has been voted in as a new industry partner. If you want to take a lot of pictures on your tours and get them into a single place where you can also ask for tips, this is something you might want to check out. Look at their information on the website. Tourism Tiger, another new industry partner, is going to be running seminars on how to better use your websites. Now they do have a product to sell, so this may be something you're interested in or not, but if you run your own business and you book things yourself, you might be interested. Anyone who runs their own business should be interested in this. Do know that they're going to, I think at this point, give every GANYC member a 10% discount if you do end up using their services. And then we have FitFlex is a new, they just filled out their application. You should see them ready to be voted on pretty soon, especially if you run fitness-oriented tours. Your people might be the right the right fit for this. They basically allow you to work out in gyms even if you don't live in the city. We have submitted our budget to the board. It's an aggressive budget. We want to do big things next year. I have a very high number of new industry partners that I want to bring in next year, and I have a number of conferences that I want people to hit with intention. Our next board meeting is August 26th. That is listed on Wild Apricot. Please.
Committee meeting.
What did I say?
Board.
Board meeting. I'm so sorry. Committee meeting. The next committee meeting is the 26th. You do not need to attend every single committee meeting in order to be on the committee, but you do need to register in Wild Apricot to get the information about attending that meeting. So I will send out an email this week, and I will post it on the Facebook page next week to give people a couple of different ways to remind themselves of that information. You could also simply go into the GANYC site, look for it, and join us virtually on the 26th. We'll be talking about the kind of run that we'll do with the PR committee to start really doing a drive to bring new industry partners and strategic partners into the GANYC family. Any questions?
Questions for Yes.
Dina Brody.
Can you stand up, please?
Dina Brody, what was the name of the industry partner, the second one you mentioned, Tiger or something?
Tourism Tiger. So they're a company that develops websites for tourism industry businesses, not just tour guides or tour operators, but anything in the tourism industry. And I know several of our members have used them already. Yeah, they put out a pretty good product. It's great that they're willing to do this for us. This is kind of the ultimate goal of what the industry partner program should be. And so it's a great first step towards getting there. So it's really gratifying to hear that that's happening.
Yeah, we want to move beyond just slapping a logo on a page, which, you know, is helpful because then we're connected, but this way we've got something.
But it will be Harvey's logo.
It could be Harvey's, just like that on.
And that's going to be in September, if I remember.
We've got 2 in September.
In September, okay, so keep your eyes out.
They are drafting language, and as soon as we have it, I'll send out the
Great.
emails.
And just one other thing to emphasize what Ro just said about an aggressive approach towards soliciting industry partners, that all ties into rebranding and PR. It's all interconnected. So when you hear Cherie talk about the different public relations initiatives, when you hear Katherine talk about how we are looking to rebrand GANYC, both logo-wise and in terms of mission statement and all these other things, it all ties into efforts to reach out to other members of the industry, guides who are not members right now, who should be members, and just also with the government connections as well. So everything is kind of intertwined. So don't think of these as separate fiefdoms. We're all kind of pulling in the same direction, just from different, slightly different angles, so to speak. So.
The big hug again.
Yes. Any other questions for Ro? Okay, great. Thank you. So we are a little bit behind schedule because of that amazing tour that Lauryn was able to give us. And by the way, she did leave a couple of business cards here on the counter. So at the end of the meeting, feel free to come up and grab one or just take a picture of it so you have her contact information. But because of that, what I'd like to do is actually address the new business that was proposed first, and then we'll break into our breakout sessions. So Harvey, you had said you wanted to discuss the Mensch Fund. Come up, speak, please.
Thank you, Harvey Paul Davidson. We've had the Mensch Fund before, and I think it was successful to a great degree. People who have gotten money from it have really benefited from it. I know I have contributed to it, and I know times may be bad for other people, particularly economic times at this point, but I think it's time to bring it back because at this stage in people's lives, it really would be meaningful. So if anyone has any comments to make about it, now is the time to say it.
Well, before you do, let me just explain. For those of you not familiar with what the Mensch Fund is or was, it basically was a pass the hat program where the association would match the funds that were collected at a given meeting or virtually after a meeting. For a time, there were no limits on it whatsoever, and that was something that actually brought some financial distress to the association. A previous board decided to cap that at, I believe, $500 for matching for GANYC. But then, not this board, but the previous board decided that there was absolutely no structure to this program. There was absolutely no qualifications for who could apply. It was basically a popularity contest, right? If we happen to hear that you had a medical issue, oh, let's pass the hat for Joe, let's pass the hat for Sally, whoever. So the previous board, not the current board, decided to scrap the program. We have still passed the hat amongst the membership here at meetings and virtually, just without the association matching to this point. And I will tell you that the board had a discussion with the membership committee a couple of months ago because they brought up the same idea. And we said, if you want to bring it back, we need to have some structure to it. Be it a form that people could fill out, what are the qualifications? And also, we have to cap it at a certain point because, God forbid, 13 GANYC members get injured and they all ask for the help of their fellow members and the association, which is great. That's just not a sustainable model. So at the moment, and just a little bit of background about the Mensch Fund, because when this came up, and I know you have some questions that we'll address, I saw all of your hands. How the Mensch Fund began, it was never an official GANYC program. I believe it was Tom Bernardin, some of you know Tom, a great former National Park Service employee, kind of the maven of Ellis Island. Long before I was a member, I guess he had an issue, and GANYC passed the hat for him and gave him some money, and he said, I don't want it. And he gave it back to the association, and the board at that time said, oh, well, let's just use it as a matching fund for others. And that's just kind of how it started. It's never been in our bylaws. It's never been in our constitution. Not saying that this prohibits us from doing this, but the problem is it was the Wild West. And we needed to pull the plug on it in order to try to get it to, at least for now, just to let it settle. But we are absolutely willing to reconsider it as long as there is structure and kind of a way that everybody has a fair shot at it, because that was not what was happening before. So that's just a little bit of background for those of you who might know. Andy, I thought I saw your hand up. Okay.
I was asking what it was.
Okay, Michael.
Yeah, it's a great idea, but it does need structure. We can't just go back to what it was, because as has been pointed out, it really was something that, it depended if you had a friend that came to the meeting and brought your issue up and everyone said, oh yeah, we like that guy, so we're gonna give money, we're gonna do a matching fund. I have no problem if you wanna pass the hat. The issue is if we're going to take funds that come primarily out of our dues and match somehow, there needs to be some kind of structure. It has to be more formal. It can't just be, we're gonna pass that and whatever comes in, we're gonna match the funds. It was a great idea. The impulse is great, it's wonderful, it's generous, but it does need structure.
It also started when we were a much smaller association.
Yes.
In terms of membership. Jonathan.
I mean,
Sorry, identify yourself.
I'm Jonathan. I mean, if you look at our budget and then you think about what it means to do a Mensch Fund with matching funds, that means the organization is now responsible for matching $1,000, and seeing $1,000 coming out of a very tightly designed budget is difficult. The capping was an interesting idea, but if you apply to the Mensch Fund in January and the money is gone by March and you're injured in May, it does you no good, right? The capping is problematic. We still don't know how many people are going to get injured or be sick on an annual basis. It's an incredible wild card in terms of budgeting. And the idea of passing the hat is fantastic, but asking our treasurer to try to manage this complete wild card in terms of expenditures is like very, very problematic.
Joe.
Yeah, Joe Slay. I was a beneficiary of that, and it was a wonderful thing because the match actually helped me to get through a couple of weeks when I was really bad off. And I'd like to see everybody to have an opportunity to get as much benefit as possible to do that still, you know, because it was something that we had done traditionally, so now we're trying to find out how we can make it really work for all of us, that it's not gonna bankrupt anybody. So it's really a question of where is the money gonna come from? I have a question about that too, because I'm wondering, since we're a nonprofit, can we get grant money from outside public or private organizations that we do so much work for them as being the representatives of the city, that we bring business into the city, so that we're doing things to benefit us from their, you know, from whatever we're doing for them, that if there were grant monies and such, that we could have, you know, say maybe get a grant of a few $1,000s, that could be the capital fund, and that could be maybe something that we could do. Do we have a grant program? Is that what I'm asking? Is it possible that we could raise money like that, or could we raise money in other ways? I'd be very happy to volunteer a tour a couple of times a year and give that money back into the Mensch Fund, you know, as a way of paying back for what was kindly given to me. And I think there are other ways that we could do a lot of fundraising to kind of make it that we could have a cap on how much the Mensch Fund should contribute from what we collect, you know, a few $100s or whatever you want to make it, that nobody gets more than $1,000 or something like that. But if we needed the money, there's other ways, hopefully, of raising the money besides raising the dues. And if you raise the dues just $5, since the dues are so high anyway, you'd have $2,000 to start with at the beginning of the year from everybody's membership. I mean, there's ways of raising the money, I think, to get it, you know, you can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good suggestions. Grants take a long time to solicit.
But they're possible, is that what I'm asking?
We are also, just to be full disclosure, we are not a nonprofit, we are a not-for-profit.
Not-for-profit,
And
whatever way it would work.
that
yes.
carries some different regulations and things like that.
Yeah.
Look, we're not trying to be mean.
No.
We understand that this has benefited a lot of people in this room in the past. We are happy to put options on the table to try to develop a new program. But as Michael and Jonathan, both former board members, mentioned as well, the way it was running was just too unwieldy.
Sure.
And there was a lack of structure.
But the bottom line is money, and where do you get it from, of course?
It's not just money.
Yeah.
Money is part of it, but it's also the fact that it was basically a popularity contest.
Well, then,
you know?
then you could have amongst the, find out who knows who and who, if anybody has, like you said, to present the case before money is given.
Sure, that's another possibility as well. The bottom line is if it is something that we want to pursue, it needs to become a more structured program.
Absolutely.
And so absolutely willing to consider ideas. So we have Nina, we have a bunch of people. So Nina next, okay? And then I'm gonna call on people who haven't spoken already at the meeting.
Yeah,
So,
I was just thinking, you know, what we'd have, I don't know what we do with the penalties just goes into the budget.
you're talking about the no-show fees for
No-show,
town tours?
yeah, so I was talking about this with, Sarah and Kat. If, you know, the no-show fees are just going into the budget, so maybe the no-show fees can total sometimes into 1,000, that can go into a Mensch Fund. But I know you need the structure, I think you need a cap.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about the no-show fees is 1 year it could be 1,000, the next year it could be 200, and that's an unreliable funding source. So while it's a nice idea in theory, might not be the perfect solution. But like I
It could be
said,
a combination of a lot of things that one could do to get money.
right, but we also don't want this to become the overwhelming thing that the organization is working on. So, Joseph, identify yourself, please.
Sorry, Joseph Salvatore, Network Guide. I hope this isn't just a passive-aggressive way of me making a suggestion. What are the Robert rules of orders here? Is this a motion that we're discussing to vote on?
No.
Or is this just an open discussion?
This is just an open discussion.
Then I would like to passive-aggressively make a suggestion that this should be like the sort of thing for like a exploratory subcommittee to like discuss and bring options to the general committee later. I don't think this is something we're gonna be able to solve tonight.
Here,
But
I move
just a
that Hardy
thought.
be in charge.
Just a thought.
Okay, we have a few more hands. Thank you, Joseph. Heidi.
Hi, my name's Heidi Benedict. I was actually injured twice in the last 20 years that I've been at GANYC. And both times I called and I said, please do not pass the hat for me. One time I got a really nice gift box from GANYC, and I thought that was really great. The whole idea of not just the popularity, but if you have a rainy meeting in the Bronx, you're gonna have a whole lot less people at that meeting than if you have a general meeting, you know, in Rockefeller Center. So the whole idea is so unbalanced to me, and I don't see how we're gonna pay anybody's rent. It's just a nice gesture, but if you don't do it evenly, it's kind of really insulting to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That some people, and there was at least one person who came back and asked for more money, and I think that was really gross.
Okay, Jeremy?
I just want to know quickly, as the co-chair of the membership committee, the processing was always run through the treasurer. I did bring this up with Michael, just as he mentioned, and we are in the initial stage of brainstorming what possible structure there could be. Maybe the answer is it's unfeasible, but this would be the creating of the structure, Michael, correct me, that would have to be done through the membership committee, and I've begun thinking about it, and it's a difficult ask. I'll just fully admit it's a nice idea, but yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and we appreciate you bringing that up a few months ago to the board, and I don't want you to feel like it has to be the sole province of the membership committee. Certainly the board can help with brainstorming and seeing if we could come up, or even taking some of the suggestions from this room, or, you know, I don't know if we need a subcommittee on it, but I think it's a discussion that we should continue to have both at the committee level and at the board level.
I just wanted to note that some discussions have begun in some form.
We have time for about I have 3 more hands, so after this we are done. Let's do Jared first.
Jared Goldstein. The New York City Association of Hotel Concierges has a program like this for needy concierges or retired ones that go through hard times. That's all I know, but I know that something like this exists.
If you have a link, can you send it to both the board and to the membership committee? If you can, since you're aware of this, that would be interesting for us to check out. Okay. Great. Jim, then James, then we do have to move along.
Jim Carr. The DC Guild has, as an additional revenue stream, when you renew your membership, there's a box in which you can contribute $25, $50, $100 just to the general fund of the association. And it's been very successful.
And that money is used for this type of purpose?
It just goes back into the general fund. It hasn't been earmarked.
I see. Okay. And last, James.
I guess I have a question that kind of runs parallel to it. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, I guess because it's sort of a personal question I mean to ask. I'm just curious, in general, do people as independent contractors have disability insurance? Because I know it's available to independent contractors. Is that something that people find accessible or not? Because I need to look into it as well.
Right. So if you didn't hear the question, James was wondering how many of our members actually have their own personal disability insurance. I'm happy to turn the question here just as an anecdotal thing. If you're willing to share, raise your hand if you carry your own disability insurance. Okay, so only about 3 or 4.
Cost prohibitive?
I just don't know.
Myself, so.
Yeah, it's not something that, to my knowledge, the association has ever looked into as a benefit the same way that we have liability insurance. Perhaps we can. I know at various times at conferences I've met some insurance reps and said, "Oh, we got great things to offer for you," and then it kind of never goes anywhere.
Because it seems like this fund is primarily used for people who suffer.
It has traditionally been for people who had a medical situation that prevented them from working.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to imply we shouldn't be charitable. I would chip in, for example, but
Yeah.
It seems like the long term, maybe it's something I thought that'd be useful.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea as well, and we can certainly, reach out at some point to some insurance companies to see what it would be, and, if people want to purchase it through the association, perhaps there'd be a bulk discount or something like that. But yeah, I think we're all kind of risking it a little bit by not having disability insurance, but, we're all superheroes, right? Okay, Harvey, any final thoughts before we move on?
No, I just thank you all for your suggestions. I'm up here because this idea was suggested to me from a few people who didn't know how to approach the board or the membership. I volunteered to bring their concern. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Harvey. We appreciate it. And it is one of the great things about our association is we have always taken care of our own. And again, I want to emphasize, we are not trying to move away from that. We're just trying to make it as fair and equitable for everybody as possible. So we'll hopefully be able to investigate a little bit and perhaps come up with a more viable solution. So, okay, so my friends, it is now 8 o'clock. We have the room till 8:30. So I think if everybody's okay, we'll do maybe one of the topics that we had put onto the itinerary. Certainly if anybody needs to leave, that's fine. And I'm happy to kind of make it a democratic decision to decide which topic we should address tonight. So on the agenda, we had two topics that we were planning to discuss in kind of these breakout sessions. One is how to deal with difficult situations on tour, and the other was how to advocate for yourself in difficult situations with tour operators and clients and things like that. Show of hands, who would like us to discuss the first topic, difficult situations on tour? Okay, raise your hands high, please. I'm kind of blind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, hands down, please. Who would like to discuss the second? And if this is 15, I'm gonna just jump in front of the bus some. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, actually, difficult situations on tour seems to have a slight majority, so why don't we do that? So, before you start moving around, here's what we'd like to do, and I'm also gonna ask Ro to kind of be traffic cop when it comes to this, because she definitely has a little bit more experience with this, with her corporate background. But you've probably all been to conferences and things like that where you've broken out into subgroups. So basically, we're just gonna ask you to kind of form 3 or 4 circles. We'll ask one board member to kind of just enter one of those groups as well. The board members will not be there to lead the discussion. They're there to just kind of facilitate and make sure there are no issues or questions or things like that. We would like each group to appoint a spokesperson to bring back to the room at large what was discussed. And we're going to give you about 10 minutes as groups to discuss this. And then each of the 3 or 4 groups, when you each report back to the full room, we'll have a few minutes for kind of comments and Q&A about what you came back with. Now, not trying to tip the scales, but what are we talking about with difficult situations on tour? It could be anything from heat-related issues, weather, interruptions, slow walkers, clients who won't shut up on the tour, interruptions from people on the street. Any difficult situation that you can think of is definitely within bounds. Those are just a few suggestions. And by kind of group thinking this, hopefully it will yield some ideas that you can utilize if and when you're confronted with such situations. Anything you want to do?
I think that's great.
Okay.
Can we get the board members who are gonna be leading up here with me?
Yeah. So my friends, we're going to need to call the discussions to an end. So, thank you so much. Looks like you guys had some robust discussions. So what we'd like to do is just go around group by group. I'll bring the microphone to each group. You got about 2 minutes to discuss what your group was discussing and possible solutions. Then we'll just open it up to the floor for a brief comment or question from other people in the room. We are a little tight on time. So hopefully you all picked a spokesperson for your group. So since I'm standing right here, we'll start with this group first. And of course, as you start, please identify yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Sarah. So we basically just talked about situations we had in tours. I spoke about 2 people, a couple of people talked about 1. We didn't have a lot of time. So we basically did the most talking and talked about all, solutions to the problems that we were faced. And ultimately it's referred to the tour that people booked. Don't engage with people that are outside of the tour that are trying to get your attention to derail your tour, like an unhoused person, and that sort of thing.
Unstable person.
Unstable or unhoused and or. Okay, so that's it.
Okay, great. Before we move on to the next group, any thoughts or questions for Group A and Sarah's group? Okay, great.
So let's just get the question. So what was the consensus? I want to hear about the consensus of that.
Sounds like the consensus was, well, I'll let you speak for yourself.
Basically, we just said, like, don't engage with an unhoused / unstable person. And if your tour is, if you have someone who's being difficult, who is questioning the tour beforehand or like asking what's on the agenda, just refer to what they paid for, refer to what they booked.
You paid for X, Y, and Z.
Right, exactly. And that's pretty much. There's probably others.
And then shoot them.
All right, thank you, Sarah, and Group A over here. So how about Group B right here?
Hi, I'm Dina. We actually talked about similar stuff. We only had enough time to talk really about distractions on tour and how we'd handle them, unhoused people, unstable people, but also people who just walk along and want to join your tour, and who like maybe start walking with you. The biggest thing is we just thought kill them with kindness, especially for unstable people. I think that not interacting is good to a certain point, but when they're insisting interaction, I think the best thing is to hold your ground and to be kind, and also, you know, think about your guests first and foremost. That was a big thing we talked about. What would they prefer? What would make them feel most comfortable? Especially since a lot of them are tourists. Obviously, not having been to New York City before, potentially. So taking them to a safe space afterwards and then being honest with them. But in the moment when you're faced with a person that's putting your group maybe in a not so safe situation, just thinking about what can I do in this moment to make my group feel safe. And sometimes that just has to be kill them with kindness, be honest, be nice, agree with them, and then walk away to a safer space and then talk to your group and be like, what they were saying was actually not true. And they would appreciate that because they want to feel like they're protected by you since you're their guide. But that was pretty much like the biggest things we talked about. For people who just join the group, again, maybe give them one stop and then let them go. But most of the time they don't know it's a paid tour. So just again, being nice, being polite, being honest, and that'll usually go a long way. And at least in my experience and the experience of us here.
Give them your card.
What?
And give them your card.
Oh, of course. And then if they're like interested, be like, oh, by the way, I do these often.
Any questions or comments for Group B? Okay. All right. Thank you, Group B. All right, so we'll come to Group C right here. Who's our spokesperson? Jeremy?
So it sounds like we were all discussing similar things about disruptive people or people who try to latch on the tour. So I think I'll focus on what we talked about were some of the solutions we have tried in the past. So one thing, if you have someone who is unstable nearby, some of the things we discussed is one, kind of situational awareness. Look, like it's like worst case scenario, if we need to like flag over a cop, is the one nearby. But also look, is if I need to get people indoors away from this person, what is the nearest and best space to do that? So again, just kind of situational awareness. I don't know why it's. I will stand over here. Thank you. And then we also discussed like what happens if somebody's trying to like latch on to your tour. One is part of it is situational awareness. Is this person doing it like, oh, maybe they think this is a free tour, or are they trying to be rude? Usually the consensus was, yeah, give them like one stop or something like that. And then what I've done is I usually will turn to them and not in a rude way, just being like, oh, I'm sorry, this is a private tour. 9 times out of 10, if you've had that happen, you'll know that they'll just apologize and walk away. And then you just approach the 1 time out of 10 a different way. And then one thing we talked about was like interjectors, where they try to talk about like, oh, I have my own facts I want to interject. Sometimes we discuss just for very, very briefly, maybe 30 seconds, you just let them do it and see if they'll stop and walk away. And then what I've done in the past is like after that point, I'll be like,
Oh, thank you. We're done at this stop. And then you just move the group away as quickly, efficiently, and unconfrontationally as possible. So situational awareness, move the group, try and avoid obviously confrontation. Those were our conclusions. Oh yeah, and like we had this one incident. Several people had an incident where I brought up where I was doing a tour where somebody tried to latch on, and I said like, oh, sorry, this is a private tour, and they were like, you're on a public street. I can follow you and listen if I want. And then if if the tour's almost over, you just gotta kind of let that happen and apologize at the end. But one solution we discussed is again, if there's an indoor space that you can bring the group in for a brief stop, it is very unlikely that that person will then follow you indoors. So you have to kind of non-confrontationally say, we're cutting you off here. Even though technically, legally, they're in the right if you're on a public street. Those were our conclusions.
I have a question. In terms of that situational awareness, like thinking about places where you can duck inside with a group, is that something that you talked about knowing in advance what your options are, or are you thinking more that's just our street knowledge comes into play there?
Street knowledge, we just said that we're saying like having situational awareness, which Cherie noted as a woman is obviously second nature to a lot of women I know. But just kind of like when that's happening, kind of look around, like you don't like go like this, but just kind of look around being like, what are my options here? So it wasn't necessarily something that you would do in advance, you would do in the moment.
Any questions or comments for Group C? Gary?
I do. I had a situation like you, someone was standing there listening, and someone in the group, it was in Little Italy, it was an organized crime tour, and this guy was listening and wasn't bothering me, right? He was like, I'm shallow, I need attention. So,
No.
shut up. But the point is, this woman got into it with him, and then I had to diffuse it. I was leaving it alone. And sometimes someone on your tour is going to make it worse. And that's what I'm saying. It was an okay situation. I don't care the guy's listening. He was standing there with his dog. He's obviously from the neighborhood, right? I mean, the only thing I was worried about was Larry Gallo's son or something like that. But sometimes a guest can make it worse. And then you have to step in and say, it's okay. And he's right. It is a public street. And he can, it's a big city, so let him listen,
Thank you. Great, thank you, Gary. All right, so our final group, Group D, and it looks like Bill is the spokesperson.
I'm speaking for us. Gosh, I didn't know I could speak so loudly. But anyhow, we did not lead our tours through rude people. We didn't have that problem. We had slow people. People who had to be sped up. And we had a group of maybe 10 or more. So we all agreed that we needed a suite. So among the group, the idea was to find someone who was willing enough to be your colleague. In other words, have two people so that in a way everybody knew that there's two of you leading the tour, even though the second person is really an amateur. One of the key phrases that we try to enforce as we talk to our slow people is we had to be efficient without being officious or offensive. So trying to greet and be nice to many people. So I think that pretty much covers it. If we had people
Setting expectations.
setting expectations, we wanted to be at the beginning what we wanted people to do, and that's how we tried to lead them on. Because very often our tours will end at a certain time, and if we're not there, that's a problem. Joe had a great suggestion. If you have a number of slower people, pre-plan where you could stop and sit and perhaps talk there. And that would be the best place for someone to get their attention. So that was our idea. And I know we're really, really close. So, you had a question?
Yeah, well, how do you handle the opposite? So I had a tour where I was trying to hang back with the slower people, and the fast walkers just took off. So I found myself trying to go back and forth. And I had one tour guest tell me, Andy, they know where we're going. You told them the street and take a left. So if they get lost, that's on them. But I'm like, I can't do that.
Well, perhaps you should have had that suite. You should have dedicated the tallest person on your tour to be in the back.
Okay.
I always tell my guests, never get ahead of the tour guide. You don't know where I'm going to turn.
Right.
Tell them that ahead of time.
So you gave them too much information.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay, all right. Well, thank you all for your contributions. I was taking notes, and we'll certainly share those in the minutes and everything else. Sorry, this kind of was more condensed than what we had originally planned, but obviously we had this great tour of the greenhouse here, and then some other topics came up. Just a couple of quick notes before we conclude. There is a post-meeting gathering planned at Seawitch on Fifth Avenue. I think it's between 21st and 22nd, so not too far from here. And then our next meeting is our AGM, our annual general meeting, Wednesday, September 9th, Javits Center at a location TBD. We will send out more information about that when we have it, but it is absolutely the most important meeting for members to attend every year. So with that,
I just wanted to know,
Yeah.
when you get to Fifth Avenue, see what you're gonna turn left toward 21st Street.
yes, so about 4 blocks up if anybody's going to grab a bite or a drink. So, okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you all for your time and your contributions.
All right.